Time to get the mouse nest out of the engine and the dead mouse. I think he's been in there long enough. Time for an eviction. Hey guys, welcome back. I want to start this video off by correcting an error I made in the previous video. I torqued these sump cover bolts to 90 inch-pounds. That is the spec for the 120 series L-head engine. This is the overhead valve engine. The spec is actually 110 inch-pounds, so why don't we correct that right now? Okay, that's all corrected. Let's take this cylinder head off. Alright, one cylinder head removed. Now I really want to see the state of this cylinder bore. This is a aluminum bore, so it does not have a steel sleeve in it, unfortunately. As you can see, the cylinder is in pretty decent shape. Hope you guys can see that. I see one little blemish right there, but hopefully that won't affect anything. So overall, pretty good. Alright, so I have trays here, intake and exhaust, for when we take the all the parts out of this engine and we look at the cylinder head and lap the valves. So each, the intake side, push rods, valve rockers, all of that, springs go in the intake side, and the exhaust goes in the exhaust side, so we can put them back in the same order. Alright, let's take a peek inside this thing. Let's see what we got. Okay. Relatively decent. So I actually took the head off of the mower with the bent crank just to compare, and I want to say that this head is actually in better condition than this head. The engine blocks are in similar condition, but the cylinder head may just, this cylinder head may just have an edge over this one. I think I want to go with this head, actually. And if I screw this one up, I always have this one to fall back on, right? This is the intake valve, and this is the exhaust valve. So, let's remember that and not forget it. So I am going to start by taking the rocker arms off. Oh, those are already loose. I wonder what the valve adjustment was on these before I took it off. Should have checked. Alright. So this is exhaust. I'm going to try and clean these up as I go. Just a quick wipe down. I don't want to get all the oil off or anything like that. I just want to get any grime or sludge or anything like that off and examine the parts for wear, that kind of thing. It looks pretty good. You can see where it's been riding on the push rod, or on the valve right there. Not too bad though. This is the cap. And can I get these off by hand? Apparently I can. There's the keeper and the spring. And here is the exhaust valve. Looks okay. Doesn't look bad. Not burnt much. A little bit of blackness, but I don't think it's too bad. Alright, time for the intake. So the original motor on this mower was a Tecumseh, and I am replacing it with a Briggs & Stratton here. It was a 6.75 horsepower Tecumseh motor, flathead, that was on it. And this one is supposedly a 7 horsepower Briggs overhead valve. You know, some people will ask, why are you replacing it with a overhead valve motor? Well, I think that the overhead valve design is a little more efficient. You get a little bit better fuel economy with an overhead valve motor. You are a little bit more efficient in that the spark is very right on, kind of on top of the piston. Not as much as a overhead cam motor, but you have the spark and you have your intake and your exhaust right in the combustion chamber. Whereas a flathead, these are off to the side, so you get more flame travel distance between the spark and the valves and all of that. So the combustion area is larger in a flathead. It makes it a little bit less efficient. And this one's in very nice condition, actually. You can still see some of the, you can see the shiny area where it's seating all the way around. Looks pretty good. Not a whole lot of carbon deposits. It's not very thick. There are some though. I'm debating whether I want to try and wire wheel that off. So I did. I took a brass wheel and lightly cleaned up the gasket mating surface, the head gasket surface, and a little bit of the carbon deposits. I did not go crazy here. You know, I just knocked off the heavy stuff. I didn't want to go, you know, wire wheel it too hard. Same with the valves. This is the exhaust valve. I cleaned it up, you know, a little bit. I did not make it shiny. I just knocked it off so it's smooth so that the valve lapping tool would stick to the top. I did notice here that this valve is a little bit worn up here. I don't know whether that's going to cause a problem or not, but I'm tempted to just leave it and see how it works. We have another cylinder head, but I have a feeling that this one is going to probably work okay for our purposes. Alright, why don't we go lap those valves. I have my valve lapping tool and I have it stuck to the exhaust valve. Now let's take some valve lapping compound. This is brand new stuff. Whoa! Oh, a little excited there. Supposedly this stuff is, it starts out as, I forget what it is, it starts out as 120 grit and then grinds down to 150, 180, and then 200. Hopefully that will work okay. You don't need too much of this stuff. Again, like I said, I don't do this all the time, so. Alright, that should be more than enough to get started. So I'm just going to stick this down in here. And let's see how that did. That gave me a nice gray line all the way around. Let's see about the head. Well, it looks like the same. Good. I'm going to take a minute to kind of clean out all of this valve lapping compound. You don't want this to stay in the cylinder head or in the engine because you can grind down piston rings and stuff like that, which would be bad. Alright, let's go for the intake. Alright, let's see how that worked. Nice. You see that? Got a nice even gray line all the way around. No areas that are not making good contact. Good. Alright, let me take a hot minute to clean this up. Time for reassembly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to coat and wash each piece before I assemble it with some clean motor oil. Get it nice and lubed up for installation. Looking real carefully, making sure I get any contaminants off the surface of the valve stem before I install it. The intake oil seal. Got our spring and our keeper. Okay, looks pretty good. Those valves look seated very well. And the springs and keepers are on. Put these little rocker seats on. The rocker pads on for the rocker arms, the pushers. I don't know what you call these. Whatever these pads are called that the rocker arms push on. Okay, like that. Good. Got a brand new head gasket here, which we will put on just like that. Let's see how that fits. Well, that fits like it's supposed to, so that's good. Let's put our cylinder head on. We got 2 alignment pins there, which we will slide right through the head gasket and into the block. Good. Before I torque this, I'm just going to slide the push rods down into their openings. Got the intake push rod here. And the intake is this one. And we've got the exhaust push rod here, which is this one. Good. The torque specifications for the cylinder head bolts is 210 inch-pounds, and I'm going to do it in 3 stages. I'm going to do 70 inch-pounds first, and then I'm going to do 150 inch-pounds, and then I'm going to do the final 210. And this is so that the cylinder head does not warp. Okay, I have my torque wrench set to 70 inch-pounds, and I'm going to do it in a cross pattern. So I'm going to start with this bolt over here, and then do diagonal across. And I'm going to go to this bolt. And then finally this bolt. Alright, now I'm going to up the torque to 150 inch-pounds. Installing cylinder heads and rebuilding the head and lapping the valves is not something I want to do in a rush, because you can damage your engine that way. I had to switch torque wrenches. My 1/4 inch drive inch-pound torque wrench doesn't go up to 210 inch-pounds, it only goes up to 200, but 210 inch-pounds divided by 12 gives 17.5 foot-pounds, and that is what I have my 3/8 inch set to. So 15 plus 2.5 is going to give me 17 foot-pounds, 17 and a half foot-pounds. And that's bolt 4. We are done installing the cylinder head. We are intake and exhaust. Oh, I'm getting crap. Crap in my engine. That's no good. Don't want that. No crap in the cylinder head. Let me show you guys something. So, you can see the compression release work here. So as soon as the intake valve starts to close, can you see that exhaust push rod? It bumps right there. That's the decompression. So it will bump the exhaust valve at low RPM when you're starting, very low RPM, so that it's easier to pull the cord. And at high RPM, that is disengaged and you don't have that bump there. Intake valve closes, and that exhaust valve bumps just slightly. How about we start with the exhaust valve? It's closest to you, easier to see, I think. The spec on this, on the valve is 0.04 to 0.06, and I have a 0.05 feeler gauge right here, so we are going for that. Alright, I'm trying to do this kind of left-handed so that you guys can see. So I'd say right about there. That's pretty darn close. Let's see, 0.06. At 0.06 will go through. Here's 0.006. It's definitely tight. I say we're going to go with that. Alright, I'm going to do the same thing on the intake. Alright, perfect. So 0.005 just fits through, and 0.006 does not go through. And with that, I'd like to thank you guys for joining me on this one. If you like these videos, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and be sure there should be a subscribe button right there in the bottom right hand corner. So be sure to hit that and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you on the next part.